Welcome, seekers of the shadows, to another chilling journey into the darkest corners of human nature. This is Shadows of the Past, where the whispers of forgotten crimes echo through the night. Tonight, we bring you 5 true crime stories, tales of betrayal, rage, and secrets buried in blood. As the rain falls softly outside, let these stories wrap around you like a cold fog, pulling you into a world where truth is stranger and often more terrifying than fiction. Each case we unravel is a puzzle, pieced together from the fragments of lives shattered by violence. From a quiet village garden hiding a gruesome secret to a city apartment stained with unimaginable brutality, these stories will haunt you long after the rain stops. So, dim the lights, settle into the darkness, and let the steady rhythm of the storm guide you into the unknown. If you find solace in these tales, leave a like, subscribe, and share where you're listening from in the comments below. Now, let's step into the shadows and begin. Part 1, The Body in the Garden. The morning of January 24, 2012, in Chinese Guangxi province, began like any other in the quiet village 6 miles from Nanning's bustling city center. The second day of Chinese New Year painted the air with the faint crackle of firecrackers, a festive hum lingering in the streets. An elderly man, his breath visible in the crisp dawn, took his usual walk, his steps slow and deliberate. His vegetable garden, a patchwork of lush green rows, was his pride, a small sanctuary he tended with care. From a distance, the orderly crops filled him with quiet satisfaction. But as he drew closer, something caught his eye. In the corner of the garden, partially hidden among the shadows of the foliage, lay a dark, unfamiliar shape. Curiosity turned to dread as he approached. The shape became clear. A woman, motionless, sprawled on the cold earth. Her black, long-sleeved sweater clung to her upper body, but from the waist down she was unclothed, her bare legs stark against the soil. Her face was unrecognizable, marred by brutal wounds that spoke of a violence so savage it froze the old man in place. His heart pounded as he stumbled back, his mind racing. This was no accident. This was murder. He ran, his frail legs carrying him to the nearest neighbors, his voice trembling as he begged for help. Within half an hour, the Criminal Investigation Department of the Qingxi District Police Bureau descended on the garden. Sirens pierced the festive air, drawing a crowd of onlookers who whispered among themselves, "A murder on New Year's? What terrible luck." The police cordoned off the scene, their faces grim as they surveyed the body. The victim appeared to be a young woman in her early 30s, lifeless, her skin already cold. The forensic examiner's initial assessment was chilling. Death had occurred within the past 12 hours, and the multiple wounds on her head inflicted by a blunt object had rendered her face a shattered mask. The state of her undress raised immediate questions. Was this a sexual assault gone wrong? A deliberate act to humiliate? The investigators noted several details that deepened the mystery. The woman wore no shoes, and the ground around her showed no signs of a struggle, no scuff marks, no torn earth. This wasn't where she died. The killer had brought her here, dumped her like discarded refuse in nearby bushes. They found a broken jade bracelet, its delicate fragments glinting in the morning light. It likely belonged to the victim, yet other jewelry, a necklace, a ring, remained untouched. Robbery, it seemed, was not the motive. As the crowd grew, whispers turned to speculation, but no one could identify the woman. The police faced a daunting question. Who was she and why was she here? A special task force was formed, their urgency palpable. While awaiting autopsy results, they scoured missing person reports across Nanning, but the city's sprawl made the search feel like chasing ghosts. Then, a breakthrough. The technical team reviewed surveillance footage from the village road, focusing on the 24 hours before the discovery. At 3:45 a.m., a camera captured a vehicle, a dark-colored SUV, stopping briefly by the roadside as hazard lights flashing. The trunk opened automatically, and a shadowy figure emerged. 10 minutes later, the figure returned, and the vehicle sped off toward the city. The footage was grainy, blurred by heavy rain that had fallen earlier that morning. The license plate was unreadable, the vehicle's color indistinct. But the timing and behavior were suspicious. Could this be the killer, transporting the body to its final resting place? In Nanning alone, thousands of dark SUVs roamed the streets, but it was a start. The investigation teetered on the edge of a dead end until a report from a local police station offered a new lead. At 5:00 a.m. that same morning, two men had rushed into the Guangxi district station frantic. One, a man named Wang Jihe, claimed his wife, Qin Xiaowei, had gone out to buy medicine around 10:00 p.m. the previous night and never returned. He and his brother-in-law had searched for hours, finding no trace of her. The brother-in-law was distraught, insisting Xiaowei would never leave without a word, especially not during the new year with her 1-year-old son at home. At the time, the police had dismissed it as a premature report, advising the men to wait. But now, the pieces begin to align. The timeline of Xiaowei's disappearance matched the estimated time of death. The age, the description, it all pointed to the body in the garden. The police contacted Xiaowei's family to identify the body. In the sterile chill of the morgue, her sister, Chen Sasha, and husband, Wang Ji, stood before the disfigured remains. The wounds made recognition nearly impossible, but Sasha's eyes fell on the broken jade bracelet and the jewelry still adorning the body. Tears welled as she nodded. "It's her," she whispered. DNA tests confirmed it. The victim was Chen Xiaowei, 36 years old, a mother, a wife, a woman whose life had been brutally extinguished. The autopsy painted a grim picture. Xiaowei died from severe head trauma, the result of repeated blows from a blunt object. Curiously, while there were signs of sexual activity within the 12 hours before her death, there were no indications of rape or physical assault beyond the head wounds. The act may have been consensual, but the killer's choice to leave her lower body exposed suggested a deliberate message, a taunt to those who would find her. In the morgue, the Xiaowei's family broke down, their grief raw and uncontainable. The police turned their attention to Wang Ji, Xiaowei's husband. His story was simple. On New Year's Eve, after Seja left their home around 10:30 p.m., their 1-year-old son developed a fever. Xiaowei went out to buy medicine, but when she didn't return after an hour, Wang Ji called her repeatedly, no answer. Unable to leave their sick child, he waited until 2:00 a.m., then took the boy to Xiaowei's cousin's house before searching the city. By 5:00 a.m., with no sign of her, he and Xiaowei's brother reported her missing. It was a plausible tale, but something didn't sit right. The police checked pharmacies within a 3-mile radius of the couple's apartment. Despite the holiday, several were open 24 hours, yet no staff recalled seeing Xiaowei. If she'd gone out for medicine, where had she gone? Surveillance footage from the apartment complex's single pedestrian entrance offered a chilling revelation. Seisha was seen leaving at 10:28 p.m., as she'd claimed, but there was no footage of Xiaowei leaving around midnight, as Wang Ji had insisted. Had something happened to her inside the apartment, or was Wang Ji lying? A neighbor surnamed Su provided the next clue. He and Wang Ji were close, and around 1:00 a.m. on January 24, Wang Ji had called to borrow his car. Su, unaware of anything amiss, agreed. The car was returned shortly after, and Su noticed nothing unusual. But the police's instincts flared. Su's car was a black SUV strikingly similar to the vehicle in the surveillance footage. They reviewed the apartment complex's cameras again. At 1:20 a.m., the SUV returned, then left again at 2:55 a.m. The driver was almost certainly Wang Ji. The police inspected Su's car, their pulses quickening as they opened the trunk. It was spotless. Too spotless, as if meticulously cleaned. Forensic technicians applied luminol, and faint traces of blood glowed under the chemical's eerie light. DNA analysis confirmed the blood belonged to Chen Xiaowei. Wang Ji was no longer just a grieving husband, he was the prime suspect. Brought in for questioning, Wang Ji stuck to his story, but his composure cracked, his legs shook, his eyes darted nervously, telltale signs of a man unraveling. When confronted with the blood evidence, he deflected, offering vague answers about where he'd searched for his wife and why. He'd borrowed Su's car instead of using his own. The police searched the couple's apartment, suspecting it was the primary crime scene. Under luminol, the living room, bathroom, and doorframe lit up with blood spatter and drip patterns, all matching Xiaowei's. Faced with irrefutable evidence, Wang Ji's defenses crumbled. In the interrogation room, his voice low and broken, he confessed. The truth was as mundane as it was horrific. On New Year's Eve, after Sasia left, Xiao Wei cleaned the house and put their son to sleep, while Wang Ji sat on the couch, engrossed in his phone. Near midnight, thinking his wife was asleep, he continued scrolling, but Xiao Wei emerged from the bedroom, snatched the phone, and saw what he'd been hiding: nude photos and flirtatious messages from another woman. It wasn't the first time she'd caught him cheating. Her fury erupted. She slapped him, her voice dripping with contempt. "I won't endure this anymore. I'll let everyone know how fake you are." Wang Ji, a man obsessed with his pride, panicked. As Xiao Wei turned to leave, he grabbed her, refusing to let her go. She fought back, hitting him with a slipper, venting years of resentment. In the struggle, she pushed him against a TV cabinet. A hammer lay nearby. In a blind rage, he seized it and struck her head. She collapsed, blood pooling on the floor. Wang Ji stood frozen, the hammer heavy in his hand. His son's cries from the bedroom snapped him back to reality. He comforted the boy, then checked on Xiao Wei. She was gone, her breath stilled. Panic gave way to a desperate plan. He couldn't face arrest, couldn't leave his son. To cover his tracks, he struck Xiao Wei's face, repeatedly disfiguring it beyond recognition. He changed her into clothes she'd wear outside, wiped down the apartment, and removed her pants to stage a false crime scene. A rape and murder by a stranger. At 2:15 a.m., with sweat beading on his brow, Wang Ji called Sue, lying about a broken car, to borrow the SUV. He carried Xiaoi's body to the garage, placed it in the trunk, and drove his sleeping son to her cousin's house, spinning a story about her absence. Alone, he headed to the village outskirts, dumping the body in the garden under cover of darkness. To throw off suspicion, he called Xiao Wei's brother, feigning concern, but the mention of reporting to the police made him act quickly, leaving the body on a deserted path. Wang Ji's perfect plan unraveled under modern forensics. The blood in the SUV, the surveillance footage, the lies, they all pointed to him. Xiao Wei's family was devastated, unable to believe the man they trusted could commit such an act. Her brother insisted they'd never fought, that Wang Ji had always seemed the ideal husband. Even Sue was shocked, recalling the couple's happy facade. In 2013, the Nanning Intermediate People's Court sentenced Wang Ji to death with a 2-year reprieve for intentional homicide. He did not appeal, perhaps knowing no remorse could undo his crime. Xiao Wei's tragedy left a scar on her family, her young son now facing a future without a mother, haunted by the truth that his father was her killer. As the rain falls outside, this story lingers like a shadow. Chen Xiao Wei endured in silence, her pride in a perfect family masking a broken marriage. Her death reminds us that secrets, when buried too long, can erupt in violence. What lies beneath the surface of those we love? Sometimes, the truth is the darkest shadow of all. Part 2. The 213 Stabs of Rage. The afternoon of September 12, 2009, in the crowded streets of Sham Shui Po, Hong Kong, was unremarkable. The hum of city life pulsed through Yuko Street, where convenience store number 71 stood as a small beacon of familiarity for locals. Inside, the manager paced, his brow furrowed with unease. One of his employees, Yang Shuyu, was late for her 2:40 p.m. shift. This wasn't like her. Yang, a reliable worker with a warm smile, had never missed a day without notice. Her phone rang unanswered, texts went unread. Concern gnawed at him, but it was a regular customer's frantic arrival that turned his worry into dread. The customer, a man whose face was tight with panic, demanded to know if Yang was at work. When the manager shook his head, the man's expression darkened. "Something's wrong," he insisted. "You need to call the police. Now." Hesitant but pressed, the customer revealed a troubling story. The day before, he'd spent time with Yang. Their connection intimate. They'd gone to her apartment, shared moments that blurred the lines of friendship, and later dined together. But during dinner, Yang's phone rang. It was her boyfriend, Li Yang Yao Yong, his voice seething with rage. He'd discovered her affair. The call ended with a demand: "Come home immediately." The customer had seen Leong's temper before, knew his volatility. He urged Yang not to go, but she brushed off his warnings, insisting she could handle it. Now, with Yang unreachable and absent from work, the customer feared the worst. The manager, aware of Leong's possessive nature, how he'd linger outside the store after Yang's shifts, bringing her meals, felt a chill. He picked up the phone and dialed the police. 2 officers arrived at Yang's apartment, a modest unit on the 5th floor of the Wing building at 27A Fuhua Street. They knocked, their voices firm as they identified themselves. Silence answered. They knocked again. Harder. Still nothing. Without evidence of immediate danger, they couldn't break in. Their investigation led them to the tenant's name, Leong Yalung, a 39-year-old man. Calls to his phone went unanswered, but they learned he had a 15-year-old daughter. When they reached her, her words sent a jolt through them. Earlier that day, Leong had visited her, his face streaked with tears. He knelt, sobbing, and said, "I've done something wrong and let you down." He spoke of returning to his hometown in mainland China to end his life, urging her to live well with her mother. He gave her 2,000 Hong Kong dollars and a gold ring, then left. Alarmed, the police sensed urgency. They asked the daughter to bring the apartment keys. When she arrived, her hands trembling, they pushed open the door. A wave of metallic stench hit them, the unmistakable smell of blood. In the dim light spilling from the hallway, they saw her. A woman lay naked on the floor, her body a canvas of wounds, blood pooling beneath her. The apartment, barely over 100 square feet, was a slaughterhouse. Bright red stains splattered the wardrobe, chairs, bedsheets, walls, floor, and even the ceiling. Emergency responders confirmed what the police already knew. She was dead. The forensic examiner identified her as Yang Shuyu, the missing employee. The police opened a case, their focus locking onto Leong Ye-yong. The daughter's account of his cryptic farewell, coupled with his absence, made him the prime suspect. She mentioned he'd fled to Jiangmen, Guangdong province, hinting at suicide. The police alerted the immigration department, but Leong had already crossed the Lou checkpoint into mainland China at noon. They coordinated with Chinese authorities, hoping to track him down. Meanwhile, forensic teams combed the crime scene, piecing together the horror. A bloodstained kitchen knife lay on the floor, likely the murder weapon. Blood patterns suggested a frenzied attack, with pause moments where the killer may have stopped, perhaps to torment Yang further. A used condom was found, its contents awaiting DNA analysis. The autopsy revealed the full extent of the brutality. Yang, 5'4" and 1/8 pounds, had been strangled, her vocal cords bruised. Her body bore 213 stab wounds: head, shoulders, arms, chest, back, abdomen, thighs. Her forearms and hands were riddled with defensive wounds, proof she'd fought for her life. Over 80 wounds scarred her head, many slicing to the bone. 5 of her teeth were broken. The fatal blow pierced her skull, breaching her brain. Even seasoned investigators recoiled at the savagery. As the scene was processed, Leong called his daughter from China, his voice hollow. He spoke of visiting his parents' graves, then ending his life. "In a day or two, I might go to heaven," he said. "Light incense for me." She pleaded with him to return to face whatever he'd done, but he hung up, repeating, "Sorry, sorry." The police waited, tension mounting. Then, unexpectedly on September 13 at 7:30 p.m., Leong reappeared at Shenzhen Bay Port. He was arrested on sight. In custody, Leong confessed without hesitation. "I killed her," he said, his tone flat. "She provoked me." His account unraveled a tale of love twisted into obsession, trust eroded by suspicion. To understand the descent into madness, we must step back into Leong's life. Born in 1970 in Jiangmen, Leong served as a military driver after high school. At 24, he married and his wife bore a daughter. In 2004, she moved to Hong Kong, leaving Leong and their daughter in Jiangmen. Their long-distance marriage strained, and in 2006, Leong discovered her affair. They divorced but reconciled enough for Leong and his daughter to join her in Hong Kong. In Jiangmen, Leong met Yang Shuyu through a mahjong game. Yang, 32, vibrant and charming, was married with a daughter but lived apart from her husband in Hong Kong. Their shared roots and parallel lives, spouses in Hong Kong, daughters left behind, drew them together. When Yang faced a pregnancy from an affair, Leong supported her through an abortion in Shenzhen, cementing their bond. They became lovers, living together in Jiangmen until Yang returned to Hong Kong. Heartbroken, Leong let her go, but she soon came back, divorcing her husband to be with him. They vowed to marry on Leong's 40th birthday, February 1st, 2010, once he gained Hong Kong residency. In April 2009, Leong and his daughter moved to Hong Kong, renting a cramped room in the Wing building close to Yang's convenience store job. Yang joined them, and Leong took odd jobs, earning modestly but doting on her. He cooked, cleaned, massaged her aching feet after long shifts, but cracks formed. Yang, craving privacy, asked Leong to send his daughter to live with his ex-wife. He complied, desperate to please her. By July 2009, their relationship frayed. Leong injured his hand and returned to China for treatment. Yang grew suspicious, accusing him of chasing women. When Leong returned, he found Yang naked, chatting happily on the phone. She dismissed his questions. Days later, a used condom in the toilet. Unusual, as Yang was allergic to them, ignited his paranoia. New towels, a toothbrush. Her dismissive taunts, "If you can't tolerate it, jump off the building," fueled his distrust. By August, Leong believed Yang had a lover, possibly the store manager she praised. Their intimacy ceased. Arguments escalated. On September 11th, the day before the murder, Leong's suspicions boiled over. While working in Yunlong, he called Yang and heard a man's voice. She claimed it was the TV, but Leong, knowing she rarely watched it, raced home. The bed was messy, still warm, with the pubic hair and short male hair on the pillow, neither his. The trash was emptied, unusual for Yang, who avoided chores. Leong scoured the building's bins, finding their apartment's trash with a used condom. Still warm. He confronted Yang, who denied everything, claiming she was dining with her ex-husband in Mong Kok. A call to the ex-husband confirmed the lie. Leong searched Mong Kok, calling Yang repeatedly, demanding she return. She ignored him. By 1:00 a.m., she stumbled home, reeking of alcohol, her attitude defiant. She mocked his suspicions, deleted her phone's messages, and dismissed his accusations. Leong, consumed by rage, left for the convenience store, drank 2 beers, and waited for the manager, hoping to confront him. When no one appeared, he returned home. Yang was on the phone, her tone provocative. He snatched it, accusing her of infidelity. Her response was venomous. "Who I talk to is none of your business," she spat. "You think I'm cheating? I'll show you cheating. I have men on the side, everyone better than you." She taunted his manhood, his worth, even claiming his daughter was born of his ex-wife's affair. Leong tried to jump from the window 3 times. Each time, Yang stopped him. The argument raged until she called her ex-husband. Falsely claiming Leong hit her, Leong apologized over the phone, then confronted her with the condom. She shoved it in his mouth, sneering, "Eat this. Maybe it'll help you last longer." Something snapped. Leong slapped her, then squeezed her neck for 10 seconds. When he released her, she didn't stop. "If you had that strength earlier, I wouldn't have needed to cheat," she mocked. His ex-wife, his daughter. She tore into every wound. He grabbed a kitchen knife, pointing it at her, begging her to stop. "Do you have the guts to stab me?" she challenged. In a blind fury, he slashed her face twice, then froze, horrified. He apologized, offered to take her to the hospital. "Who would want me like this?" she whispered. "Just kill me." Those words unleashed a torrent. Leong raised the knife and stabbed, over and over, lost in the haze of rage and despair. He couldn't recall how long it lasted, only that he stopped, the room a crimson nightmare. Yang lay dead, her body a testament to his unraveling. He considered suicide but couldn't leave without seeing his daughter. He fled to China, visited his parents' graves, and attempted an overdose, only to be saved. His daughter's pleas echoed in his mind, and he returned to Hong Kong, turning himself in. At trial in October 2010, Leong pleaded manslaughter, claiming provocation. His defense argued he'd lost control under Yang's relentless taunts. The prosecution challenged his story, noting inconsistencies, like the sudden intimacy before the murder, confirmed by his semen in Yang's body, despite months of no contact. Witnesses painted a complex picture. Yang's ex-husband described her as cheerful but manipulative, hinting at Leong's violent temper. The store manager denied any affair, praising Yang's work ethic. A key witness, Chen Bushong, a married minibus driver, admitted to an affair with Yang on September 11th. He had visited her apartment, used condoms, and dined with her. When Leong called, Chen urged her not to go home, fearing his wrath. His testimony, delivered hesitantly behind a mask, confirmed Yang's infidelity, but complicated Leong's narrative. After a swift deliberation, the jury convicted Leong of murder. The judge, horrified by the most gruesome crime scene of his career, sentenced him to life. Leong appealed multiple times, undergoing 3 trials. In 2021, the Supreme Court reduced his conviction to manslaughter, citing his 12 years served and good behavior. He walked free, but the scars of that night, 213 wounds, etched in blood, remained. As the rain taps against the window, Yang Shu-yu's story lingers. A woman caught between lovers, her choices sparked a fire that consumed her. Leong, driven by jealousy, became a monster in a moment. Who was the true victim in this dance of betrayal? The truth, like the blood on those walls, can never be washed away. Part 3, The Iron Chest of Secrets. On the morning of February 14, 1999, in the heart of Hong Kong's Mong Kok district, the streets buzzed with the rhythm of Valentine's Day. Flower vendors hawked roses, couples strolled hand in hand, and the air carried a faint sweetness from nearby bakeries. But in a cramped apartment on Soy Street, a different scene was unfolding, one that would shatter the festive glow and plunge those involved into a nightmare of blood and betrayal. Chung Sing, a 20-year-old with a quick smile and a knack for fixing things, woke with a nagging unease. His best friend, Chung Man, hadn't answered his calls for 2 days. Chung, a charismatic 24-year-old with ties to the city's shadier circles, was never one to go quiet. Their friendship, forged over late-night drinks and shared secrets, was unshakable. Chung Sing tried Chung's phone again. Straight to voicemail. Something was wrong. He called Chung's younger brother, who shared his concern. Together, they decided to check Chung's apartment, a modest unit in a weathered building that smelled of mildew and fried food. As they climbed the narrow stairwell, the brother's voice trembled. "He's been acting strange lately," he admitted, "ever since he started dating that girl." The girl was Fan Man, Chung's 19-year-old girlfriend, a strikingly beautiful high school dropout with a past that whispered of ambition and rebellion. Chung had been smitten, but lately he'd confided in Chi Sing about suspicions, Fan's late nights, her evasive answers, the way she'd slip out without explanation. "I think she's seeing someone else," Chung had said, his voice heavy with hurt. At the apartment door, Chi Sing knocked, his fist echoing in the dim hallway. No response. He called out Chung's name, then Fan's. Silence. The brother fumbled for a spare key, his hand shaking as he unlocked the door. A sour metallic stench hit them like a wave. Chi Sing's stomach churned. He stepped inside, his eyes adjusting to the dim light filtering through drawn curtains. The apartment was small, cluttered with clothes and takeout boxes, but something felt off. In the corner, near a sagging couch, stood an iron chest. Typically used for tools like hammers and saws, it was locked, its surface unnaturally clean amid the chaos. Chi Sing's gaze darted to the floor. Dark stains, barely visible on the worn tiles, trailed from the chest toward the bathroom. His heart pounded. "We need to call the police," he whispered. The brother, frozen, nodded. Within 20 minutes, officers from the Mong Kok police station arrived, their faces hardening as they took in the scene. They pried open the chest, and the room filled with gasps. Inside, packed tightly among coarse salt and old clothes, were human remains. 6 neatly severed pieces, preserved in a grotesque tableau. The head, torso, arms, and legs belonged to a man, his identity obscured by the brutality of the dismemberment. The police sealed the apartment, transforming it into a crime scene. Forensic technicians swarmed, their gloved hands meticulously collecting evidence. The remains were identified through dental records and a distinctive tattoo. Chung Man, the apartment's tenant, was the victim. The autopsy revealed a chilling sequence. Chung had been stabbed 13 times, with a fatal wound piercing his chest through to his lung. Blunt trauma to his head suggested he'd been beaten before death, possibly while pleading for mercy. The dismemberment, done with a kitchen knife and scissors, was methodical. The cuts, precise despite the killer's apparent exhaustion. The apartment yielded more clues. Blood spatter on the bathroom tiles, hidden beneath a hastily mopped surface, matched Chung's DNA. A kitchen knife, its blade dulled and stained, was found in a drawer, alongside a pair of scissors crusted with tissue. The coarse salt in the chest, a crude attempt to mask the odor, spoke of desperation, not sophistication. The police turned their attention to Fan Man, Chung's live-in girlfriend, who was nowhere to be found. Her absence was damning, but Chi Sing's account of the days leading up to the discovery painted a darker picture. 2 days earlier, on February 12th, Shai Singh had visited the apartment to drop off a repaired radio. Fan answered the door, her demeanor oddly calm. Behind her, Chung's voice was faint, almost pained, muttering, "Don't hit me." Music blared from a stereo, drowning out further words. Another woman, wearing glasses and introduced as Fan's friend, stood nearby, her presence fleeting but suspicious. Shai Singh left, unsettled but unsure. Now, standing in the apartment's grim aftermath, he realized he'd heard Chung's final moments. The police issued an alert for Fan men, their suspicions fueled by another witness, Liu Quanhua, Fan's ex-boyfriend. Liu, a wiry 22-year-old with a nervous tic, came forward voluntarily, his story unraveling a tangled web. He dated Fan briefly in 1998, drawn to her beauty but wary of her volatility. Recently, she'd contacted him, her voice trembling as she confessed to killing Chung. "I need your help," she'd said, asking him to buy a sharp kitchen knife and scissors to move some things. Liu, sensing trouble, complied but distanced himself. His testimony was crucial. Fan had admitted to the murder, and the tools he'd purchased matched those used in the dismemberment. To understand Fan Man's descent into this horror, we must rewind to 1994 when she was just 14, a bright student at a Mong Kok high school. Her intelligence and delicate features made her a standout, but her ambition stretched beyond the classroom. At a karaoke bar where she worked part-time, she met Chung Man, then 19, a charming drifter with a foot in the city's underworld. Chung, captivated by Fan's innocence, pursued her relentlessly, obtaining her number through a mutual classmate. Their friendship blossomed, Fan often visiting Chung's home with friends, her laughter filling the air. But one night, alone with Chung, the dynamic shifted. Overwhelmed by his infatuation, Chung, fueled by alcohol, assaulted her. The betrayal was a wound, yet he fell to his knees, begging forgiveness, blaming the liquor. "I'll take responsibility," he swore. Fan, terrified he'd use the incident against her, pretended to forgive him. Over time, his persistent kindness, gifts, apologies, unwavering attention chipped away at her defenses. She fell for him, and by late 1994, at 15, she was pregnant. The pregnancy was a crisis. Fan, still in 10th grade, faced ruin if exposed. Chung, at risk of legal consequences, urged secrecy. They planned an abortion, but a doctor warned that Fan's frail frame and low weight made the procedure dangerous. Reluctantly, they decided to keep the baby. Fan, petite and clever, hid her pregnancy with loose clothing, dismissing questions about her weight gain with a laugh. In May 1995, alone in Chung's bathroom, she gave birth to a girl, naming her Yu Young, bearing Fan's surname to shield Chung. Life became a tightrope. Fan returned to school, juggling studies and motherhood. She left Yu Young at Chung's home, visiting daily after classes to care for her daughter, then returning to her family's apartment at night. Her parents, unaware of her secret life, believed she was focused on her studies. To fund their makeshift family, Fan lied to her family, claiming she needed to rent a place for academic focus. They sent her 1,000 Hong Kong dollars monthly, which she funneled to Chung. He grew lazy, quitting his job, relying on her allowance. Their relationship, once tender, soured under the weight of poverty and his growing temper. Fan persevered, excelling in her pre-university exams, but the dream of college slipped away. She chose Yu Young over ambition, becoming a housewife in Chung's cramped home. By 1996 and 1997, she bore 2 more children, but the strain was unbearable. Unable to afford them, she abandoned one at a subway station, the other at a hospital entrance. Each act carved a deeper wound in her heart, her love for Chung curdling into resentment. His beatings left her bruised, her dreams of stardom and success buried under the weight of survival. By 1998, Fan sought escape. At a market, she met Quanhua, a gentle painter whose kindness contrasted sharply with Chung's cruelty. She hid her relationship with Chung and Yu Young, falling for Quanhua's warmth, but fear of Chung's wrath ended the affair after months. That April, while buying street food with her sister, Fan spotted a tall, dark-skinned firefighter. Boldly, she asked for his number, and he, captivated by her youth, fell hard. This time, she didn't hide the relationship, flaunting it in shopping malls, daring Chung to notice. Chung Buzheng, possessive and distrustful, grew suspicious. He demanded Fan report her whereabouts, even trailing her secretly. She covered her tracks, but the tension built like a storm. On February 10, 1999, Chung confided in Qixing, his voice raw with betrayal. Qixing had seen Fan with the firefighter, confirming Chung's fears. Enraged, Chung stormed home, confronting Fan in the early hours. The argument exploded, years of pain, lies, and betrayal igniting in a single moment. Fan's testimony later painted a desperate scene. Chung, his face twisted with fury, unleashed a torrent of insults, accusing her of infidelity. He struck her, his fists a familiar punishment. Fan, cornered, grabbed an iron hammer and a stool, swinging to protect herself. In the chaos, she seized a kitchen knife, threatening him to back off. Chung lunged, and the blade caught him, blood welling from the wound. He staggered, collapsing. Fan, fueled by years of abuse, lost control. She struck him with the stool, her anger a flood she couldn't stem. Chung's cries grew faint, then stopped. Blood pooled on the floor, Yu Young's wails piercing the silence from her room. Fan dragged Chung's body to the bathroom, her small frame straining under his weight. When Qixing knocked, she blasted music to drown out the noise, refusing to open the door. Alone again, she faced a grim reality. Chung was dead, and she couldn't call for help. Not with her daughter watching, not with her future at stake. Exhausted, Fan decided to hide the body. The iron chest used for tools was her solution. She emptied it, but Chung's body wouldn't fit. With the kitchen knife, too dull for the task, she began dismembering him, her hands trembling from fatigue. Hours passed, the process slow and grueling. She called Quan Hua, spinning a vague story about moving items, and asked for a sharper knife and scissors. He delivered them, unaware of her intent. With the new tools, she cut Chung into 6 parts, packing them into the chest with coarse salt, clothes, and shoes. The left hand and foot, too bulky, were discarded in a nearby garbage bin. Fan believed she'd covered her tracks, but the police were closing in. Liu Quan Hua's testimony, combined with Chai Sing's account, led to her arrest 12 days later on February 26th in a Kowloon hostel. In custody, Fan confessed, her voice steady but hollow. She described the killing as self-defense, a reaction to Chung's abuse, but offered no clear motive for the dismemberment beyond panic. Her small stature, barely 5 feet 90 pounds, raised doubts. Could she have acted alone? At trial in February 2000 at Hong Kong's High Court, Fan faced charges of murder and obstructing lawful burial. She maintained her self-defense claim, detailing years of Chung's violence and her fear of exposure. The prosecution argued premeditation, citing the methodical dismemberment and her attempts to deceive Qixing. The jury, 5 women and 2 men, deliberated for 7 hours. They returned a unanimous verdict, not guilty of murder, but guilty of manslaughter and obstructing burial. The judge sentenced Fan to 12 years, 9 for manslaughter, 3 for the burial charge served concurrently. The case gripped Hong Kong, its grisly details splashed across tabloids. Many questioned the verdict. Fan's size made the dismemberment seem implausible without help. The woman with glasses, seen by Qixing, fueled speculation of an accomplice, though Fan denied it. Qixing's inaction, hearing Chung's pleas yet not calling police, drew scrutiny. He claimed he feared exposing Yu Young's existence, which could have implicated Chung legally. The explanation felt weak, leaving whispers of complicity. Stranger still, no neighbors reported hearing the late-night argument, raising theories that the apartment wasn't the true crime scene. Without concrete evidence, these remained conjectures. Fan served her sentence quietly, released in 2009. She changed her name and vanished from public view, her story fading into the city's underbelly. But the tragedy didn't end with Fan. Yu Young, just 4 when she witnessed her father's death through the bathroom door's crack, carried the trauma into adulthood. Placed in an orphanage after Fan's arrest, she was later adopted. The new family offered stability. But Yu Young, haunted by memories of blood and screams, withdrew. Intelligent like her mother, she excelled early in school, but adolescence brought rebellion. At 15, she dropped out, fell into a rough crowd, and spiraled into drug addiction. By 19, she was arrested for drug trafficking. In court, Yu Young faced her past. "My family isn't an excuse," she said, her voice steady. "Thank you for stopping me." Her adopted mother vowed to support her. But Yu Young's path mirrored Fan's. A life derailed by choices and circumstance, sentenced to 5 years and 8 months, she bore the weight of her mother's legacy. In 2021, a filmmaker adapted their story into Alisa's Day, a poignant reflection on cycles of pain. As the rain falls softly outside, Fan Man's story clings like damp air. A girl with dreams of stardom, trapped by love, abuse, and a single, irreversible act. Was she a victim of circumstance or a calculated killer? Chung's death, Yu Young's fall, each is a ripple from that Valentine's Day horror. The iron chest held more than a body. It locked away a family's future. What secrets do we bury, and at what cost? The shadows hold no answers, only echoes of a life undone. Part 4. The Beauty Who Killed for Greed. In the late summer of 1994, the city of Zhujiang in China's Guangxi province hummed with the rhythm of daily life. The Sua River, winding through the city's eastern edge, reflected the golden haze of August evenings, its banks a quiet retreat for locals. But on a September morning, that tranquility shattered. A group of residents strolling along the river's thickly bushed eastern shore stumbled upon a chilling discovery: 2 plastic bags, half hidden in the undergrowth, leaking a dark, viscous fluid. Curiosity turned to horror as they peered inside. Human legs, severed at the thighs, stared back at them. Panic erupted. The residents raced to the nearest police station, their voices trembling as they recounted the find. Within hours, the Yonghong Police Division received more reports. Additional body parts scattered across the city's suburban fringes. The criminal investigation team descended on the riverbank, cording off the area with grim efficiency. Forensic technicians carefully collected the remains, packaging each piece for analysis. The bags held the dismembered parts of 3 victims: a man, a woman, and a child. The discovery pointed to a single, unthinkable truth. This was likely a family slaughtered together. The investigation faced immediate hurdles. The riverbank wasn't the primary crime scene. The bodies had been dumped, carried by an unknown killer to this desolate stretch. In the early 1990s, forensic technology in Zhejiang lagged behind modern standards. Without facial features or fingerprints, identifying the victims was a labyrinthine task. Preliminary examinations offered little. The remains were too fragmented, many parts missing. Investigators suspected a single perpetrator, but the trail was cold. The case, shrouded in dread, was shelved, its mystery haunting the city. 9 months later, in June 1995, the nightmare resurfaced. Residents near a southern bridge reported more plastic bags and irrigation ditches among rice fields. The police, their pulses quickening, recognized the pattern. Inside were human remains, male, dismembered, with chilling precision. Within a year, 4 lives had been snuffed out, and Zhujiang's residents whispered of a monster in their midst. The pressure on law enforcement was crushing, each unsolved day fueling public unease. In the forensics lab, experts pieced together the new remains like a macabre puzzle. The victim's head was missing, but the left chest, arms, and legs offered clues. Yellowed fingernails hinted at a long-term smoker. A slightly curved spine and developed leg muscles suggested an office worker, someone who sat for long hours. Bone analysis estimated the victim's age at 32 to 35, height between 5'10 and 5'11. These fragments painted a profile, but without a face. Where could the police begin? Desperate for a break, the investigators devised a bold strategy. They broadcast a request on local television during prime time news. Male accident victim, currently in hospital. Height approximately 5'10. Strong build, scar on left wrist, reward offered for information. The ruse was a gamble, but it paid off. An elderly man, Mr. Dong, called the hotline, his voice heavy with fear. His son, Dong Datsing, a 33-year-old law enforcement officer in Zhejiang's judicial system, hadn't been seen in days. Mr. Dong had called Datsing's home and workplace to no avail. The scar on Datsing's left wrist from breaking up a fight years ago matched the broadcast's description. The police traced Datsing's residence through household records. Neighbors hadn't seen him since June 1st, Children's Day, when he'd returned home with a woman they called Ren Shiai, a strikingly beautiful figure with long black hair. With Mr. Dong's permission, officers broke into Datsing's apartment. The scene was a slaughterhouse. Blood splattered the living room, kitchen, and walls. pooling on the floor alongside tissue fragments resembling. Tests confirmed the blood was Dai Qing's. This was the primary crime scene, and Renzi, his girlfriend, was now the key to unlocking the case. The search for Ranxi was daunting. Shi was a common surname, and the police weren't even sure it was her real name. A breakthrough came when they learned Dai Qing had met her through a matchmaking service. In the 1990s, before digital databases, Zhujiang's 200-plus marriage introduction centers relied on paper files. Investigators combed through thousands of records, their eyes bleary from the task. At the Weme Marriage Introduction Center, they found Da Qing's registration and Ren Xi's. Her photo and details led them to the Dong'an district, where an elderly woman visiting neighbors gasped at the image. "That's old Ma's third daughter, Ma Yanhong." Ma Yanhong, 28, was a local beauty from Hukong County, known for her fashionable clothes and enigmatic smile. After a failed marriage to a wealthy man with whom she had 2 children, she divorced in 1993 and moved to Zhujiang alone. Her family hadn't seen her in 6 months, and village gossip painted her as flirtatious, possibly entangled with a new affluent life. But the police focused on Zhujia's banking system, suspecting Yan Hong had stolen Da Qing's savings book, containing 20,000 yuan, roughly $2,500, 0 cents at the time. Plainclothes officers staked out bank branches, their patience rewarded when Yan Hong appeared one afternoon, attempting a withdrawal just before closing. In the interrogation room, Yan Hong's composure was unnerving. Faced with evidence, she admitted to dismembering Da Qing's body, claiming he died of alcohol poisoning. But the similarities between his case and the 1994 family murders, identical dismemberment techniques, plastic bags, and dump sites, prompted deeper scrutiny. As the police pressed, Yan Hong's facade cracked. Tears streamed down her face, her voice a mix of defiance and despair. "You can only die once," she said. "Whether you kill 1 or 2, the punishment's the same. I'll tell you everything." Her confession unveiled a chilling portrait of greed and cold-blooded calculation. To understand Yan Hong's path to murder, we must step back to 1993. After her divorce, she arrived in Zhujiang, dreaming of a fresh start. She planned to open a small shop, envisioning a quiet, prosperous life, but her inexperience and dwindling savings turned ambition to desperation. Sleepless nights were spent scheming ways to survive in a city where she had no ally. Her beauty, once a source of pride, became her weapon. Yan Hong's first victims were her landlords, the Su family, Su Shu, his wife, and their young son. Renting a spare room in their home, she spun a tearful tale of betrayal. Her husband, she claimed, had fled with a waitress, taken their child and assets. The kind-hearted Sus offered the room for half the usual rate, 50 yuan a month. Yan Hong played the grateful tenant, her smiles disarming, but her eyes were sharp, noting every detail of their lives. One evening, she saw Su Shu's wallet, thick with 100 yuan bills, perhaps 5,000 yuan. When he mentioned a week-long trip to visit relatives, leaving her to watch the house, a plan formed. On August 26, 1994, Yan Hong joined the Sus for breakfast, her demeanor warm. She insisted on buying beer to send them off, sleeping pills into the bottles. As the family ate, she served food and poured drinks, her words sweet. The sedatives took hold, their heads nodding. Yan Hong searched Su Shu's pockets, taking every yuan. Then, with a kitchen knife, she killed them. Su Shu first, then his wife, and finally the boy, whose small frame offered no resistance. Standing over their bodies, she calculated her next move. Inspired by crime shows, she dismembered them in the bathroom, packing the parts into plastic bags under cover of night. She cycled to irrigation ditches and riverbanks, scattering the remains. The Sus's absence went unnoticed. Neighbors believed they were visiting relatives. Yan Hong, emboldened by her success, didn't flee. Instead, she rented a better apartment. Her stolen cash, a temporary lifeline. The ease of the murders twisted her ambitions. Why struggle when killing was so simple? She devised a new scheme, using her beauty to lure victims through matchmaking services. Registering as Rinshi, she crafted a sympathetic backstory, thrown out by in-laws for failing to bear children. The Weimei staff, moved by her tale, prioritized her, introducing her to promising men. Dong Da Qing, a handsome police officer, was her next mark. Yan Hong's charm ensnared him. and within weeks, she moved into his apartment. She subtly pressured him, hinting at her wealthy ex-husband to stoke his pride. Don Ching, smitten, showed her his savings book, promising it as their future foundation. On June 2, 1995, after an intimate evening, Yan Hong brought out beer laced with sedatives. As Dai Ching slept, a colleague knocked unexpectedly. She played the perfect girlfriend, serving tea and explaining Dai Ching's drunken state. Alone again, she stabbed him. Her movements practiced from the Sioux murders. She dismembered his body, disposing of it in familiar ditches, and kept the savings book. Yan Hong's confession stunned investigators. How could a woman, described as frail and elegant, orchestrate such brutality alone? She admitted hesitating with Da Ching. He was kind, stable, a potential husband, but his police background was a threat. Her past crimes would unravel under his scrutiny. Greed and fear drove her to kill. The police excavated the victims' heads from city outskirts, corroborating her account. The Zhejiang Intermediate People's Pretoria Procuratorate filed for prosecution, demanding the death penalty. Public outrage echoed the call for justice. But the trial, beginning in 1996, took an unexpected turn. Yan Hong, a master manipulator, recanted her confession, claiming police coercion. Her lawyer argued a lone woman couldn't overpower a trained officer like Da Xing or slaughter a family without help. Chemical analysis of alcohol at both crime scenes showed low sedative doses, enough to drowsy but not incapacitate. The lack of struggle marks raised questions. Was there an accomplice? Yan Hong's vague responses, hinting at unnamed others, stalled the court. "I'll take responsibility alone," she'd say, then add, "Naming others won't help now." In the second trial, Yan Hong named a fictional accomplice, Mr. Wong, a wanted murderer from another county. Her vivid stories, meetings, plans, split profits lacked evidence. The court adjourned again, tasking prosecutors with disproving her claims. By 1998, the third trial brought clarity. Investigations confirmed Wong's absence from Zhejiang during the murders, and no witnesses tied him to Yan Hong. The court dismissed her diversions, sentencing her to death for 4 counts of murder. She was executed that year. Her beauty and cunning, no shield against justice. Yan Hong's story is a descent into darkness. A woman with every chance to rebuild chose a path of blood, abandoning her children and betraying those who trusted her. The Sioux family's kindness, Da Ching's love, each became a stepping stone to her greed. Her intelligence, once a gift, crafted a killer's playbook. As the rain whispers outside, her tale lingers like a warning. What drives a heart to such depths? The Swa River, silent now, holds the secrets of those lost, their voices drowned in plastic and greed. Part 5, The Unsolved Mystery of Red Manor. On the afternoon of March 13, 2012, the quiet outskirts of Kunming in China's Yunnan province were pierced by a frantic call to the Janai County Police. The voice on the line, trembling with dread, belonged to Hu Jiangyong. He'd found a body, a woman's body, buried in a shallow grave near the Red Manor Villa complex. The police arrived within 20 minutes, their sirens cutting through the eerie stillness of the sparsely inhabited area. Jiangyong, pale and shaken, led them to a ravine 328 yards from a secluded villa. The earth was freshly disturbed, as if someone had been in a hurry to conceal a terrible secret. As officers uncovered the body, a collective hush fell over the scene. The woman lay curled in a fetal position, dressed in pink pajamas, her bare feet caked with soil. Duct tape bound her hands, feet, and neck, and a black plastic bag encased her head. When forensic technicians cut it open, they found a blood-soaked cotton towel covering her face. Large crimson stains marred her chest, hinting at a violent end. Yango, his voice breaking, identified her as his younger sister, Hu Ying, 31, a native of Sichuan province. The preliminary autopsy confirmed a brutal truth. Ying had been tortured, her cheekbones and skull shattered, her brain damaged by blunt force trauma. Death had come 5 days earlier, around March 8th or 9, roughly 6 hours after her last meal. The discovery sent shockwaves through Ying's family. Xingyang recounted the events leading to this grim moment. On March 10, their mother received a call from Ying's live-in boyfriend, Chen Hui. a 46-year-old deputy director at the Yunnan Bureau of Aviation Administration. Chen sounded distraught, claiming Ying had left their apartment on the afternoon of March 9 to meet an old friend for dinner and hadn't returned. His phone was off, texts unanswered. He'd searched for her that night, he said, but found no trace. Alarmed, Zheng Yang and several relatives rushed from their hometown in Luzhou to Kunming, filing a missing person report and scouring places Ying frequented. By March 13th, their search led to Red Manor, a decaying villa complex on Kunming's fringes, where Chen owned a garden-style villa built in the 1990s. The area was overgrown, its low occupancy lending it a ghostly air. Jiang Yang, accompanied by two friends, noticed the disturbed soil in the ravine. Suspecting the worst, they began digging, but stopped when a black plastic bag emerged, fearing they'd compromise evidence. Jiang Yang called the police, and the horror of Ying's fate came into focus. The investigation zeroed in on Chen Hui, the man who'd reported Ying missing. His villa's proximity to the burial site was too coincidental, and his status as Ying's partner made him the prime suspect. Chen, a senior engineer with a polished demeanor, was no ordinary citizen. Divorced years earlier, he lived with his teenage daughter and had met Ying in September 2009 through work connections. Ying, also divorced, was raising a 3-year-old son. Despite a 15-year age gap, their shared circumstances sparked a romance, and within 6 months, they moved in together in a downtown apartment on Dongpinggang Road. Ying quit her hotel job, tried running a clothing store, and failed, leaving her unemployed and reliant on Shen. He described her as reclusive, focused on her son, with few social ties. Yet on March 9 at 3:21 p.m., Chen claimed to receive a text from Ying's phone. She was meeting an old friend for dinner and asked him to pick up her son from school. By 10:00 p.m., she hadn't returned, her phone unreachable. Chen said he spent the night searching, but his story raised red flags. The police turned to Red Manor, its desolate isolation a perfect stage for a crime. Forensic evidence tightened the noose around Chen. The duct tape binding Ying's body bore 6 fingerprints and 3 palm prints, all matching Chen's, 2 stained with her blood. Surveillance footage from March 9 showed Shen driving out of Kunming at 10:22 p.m. via the highway, exiting at Guangxi, 6 miles from Red Manor at 11:31 p.m. His car re-entered the highway at Jinai at 2:08 IEMing on March 10, returning to downtown by 3:00 IEMing. A police simulation driving to the villa, digging a grave, and returning. Took 1 hour and 24 minutes, matching Chen's timeline. The text message was another puzzle. Sent from Ying's phone, it pinged a cell tower near the Maritime Bureau, where Chen worked. Analysis revealed unusual phrasing. Please pick up the child tonight. Too formal for their intimate relationship. Surveillance showed Chen at his office that day, but no evidence placed Ying there. The police theorized Chen sent the message to fake her survival, as forensic estimates pegged her death between the night of March 8 and early March 9 before the text was sent. Motive emerged from Ying's family and friends. Ying and Chen's relationship, once warm, had soured. Chen's rebellious daughter clashed with Ying, whose fiery temper fueled disputes. In 2011, Chen began an affair with Ms. Shea, a professor at Yunnan University, meeting her just 10 days before Ying's death. Ying, unemployed and dependent, demanded marriage, property transfer, and a 500,000 yuan promissory note as breakup compensation. She threatened to expose Chen's financial dealings, a risk to his career managing 10 billion yuan annually. The police saw a clear motive: silence Ying to protect his reputation. On March 2012, Chen was arrested, formally charged with intentional homicide by April 26. Over 6 months, he endured 14 interrogations, denying everything. In November 2014, the Kunming Municipal People's Procuratorate filed charges, citing the fingerprints, surveillance, and motive. But Chen, calm and articulate, mounted a vigorous defense. At trial, he smiled, greeting attendees, and declared, "I'm an intellectual who's never killed a chicken, let alone a human. I hope the police find the real culprit." Chen's lawyer dismantled the prosecution's case. The forensic estimate of Ying's death, 5 days before the autopsy, was vague, potentially spanning March 7 to 9. If Ying died on March 9 afternoon, Chen was at his office, negating opportunity. The text messages, cell tower data wasn't exclusive. The Maritime bureau tower covered nearby streets, meaning Ying could have sent it. Chen admitted returning home at noon on March 9 carrying tea and liquor, but denied transporting a body, arguing the busy complex made it implausible. His night drive to Red Manor, he claimed, was to search for Ying, not bury her. The defense highlighted investigative flaws. No crime scene was confirmed. Chen's apartment showed no blood or struggle. The blunt murder weapon was never found or identified. The old friend Ying mentioned went uninvestigated, a missed lead. Most critically, the fingerprints on the duct tape weren't conclusive. Chen claimed he had handled tape at the villa days earlier, wrapping a blanket. The tape used on Yang was wider, 2.05 inches, but the defense argued the prints could have been planted or from prior use. Why were Chen's prints only on the tape, not elsewhere on Yang's body? Ying's family countered fiercely. The coincidence of Chen's prints on bloodied tape was too stark. The affair and Ying's threats too compelling. They insisted she had no other enemies. But on May 19, 2015, the Kunming Intermediate People's Court delivered a stunning verdict. Not guilty. The evidence, fingerprints, timeline, motive, lacked exclusivity to rule out other possibilities. As the crime scene, time of death, weapon, and motive were unclear, with gaps in the prosecution's chain. Chen was released immediately, expressing joy and thanking the judicial system. Ying's family was devastated, their grief raw. The procurator appealed on June 9, but the Yunnan Provincial Higher People's Court upheld the verdict on November 2, 2015, citing insufficient grounds. Chun sought to restore his civil servant status, while Ying's case remained a gaping wound, an unsolved mystery. Who killed her? Where? With what? Was the old friend a clue ignored? The Red Manor villa, silent and overgrown, holds no answers. As the rain falls, Ying's story lingers like a fog that won't lift. A woman seeking security, caught in a web of love and betrayal, met a brutal end. Chun Hui, acquitted but shadowed by suspicion, walks free. The truth, buried with Ying in that lonely ravine, remains out of reach. What secrets did she carry to her grave? The shadows of Red Manor whisper, but they do not speak. As the rain softens to a whisper, we step back from the shadows, leaving behind 5 tales that cling like damp air. From a garden stained with betrayal to a villa hiding an unsolved truth, these stories reveal the fragility of trust and the weight of choices gone astray. Chen Xiaowei, Yang Shuyu, Cheng Man, the Su family, Wu Ying. Each life cut short leaves ripples of sorrow, questions unanswered, and futures stolen. The killers, whether driven by rage, greed, or fear, remind us how close darkness lies to the human heart. Yet, in these tragedies, there's a call to reflect. What pushes someone to murder? What secrets fester until they explode? The rain, steady and unrelenting, mirrors the persistence of truth, eroding lies over time. But some truths, like Hu Ying's killer, remain buried, mocking justice with their silence. These stories aren't just for chills. They're mirrors, asking us to examine the shadows within ourselves. Thank you for joining us on this haunting journey through shadows of the past. If these tales stirred you, leave a like, subscribe, and share where you're listening from in the comments. Your support keeps these forgotten voices alive. As the night deepens, let the rain carry you to sleep, but keep one eye on the darkness. The past is never truly gone. It waits, whispering in the shadows. Until we meet again, stay curious, stay safe, and let the night watch over you. Good night.